I don't think that you can ever really lose if you are speaking your truth, living your truth, and being vulnerable. Hello, my loves. So I have just gotten back from a little trip to the mountains for my birthday on November 3rd, Election Day. My space, if you can see, is a little bit cluttered. I feel like maybe my mental space is a little cluttered, and today I'm just going to cleanse my space, cleanse my spirit a little bit, cleanse my altar, and I thought I would take you guys with me on this day. It's a Sunday, which I feel like is the perfect day to do little things like this. I finally actually started reading the Sophia Code this morning, which I'm so excited about. Feels like a really good time to read it. And I'm still reading Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I take my time when I'm reading spiritual texts of any sort to really integrate the learnings, and then also I feel like they're not as fun as or exciting or interesting as a fiction book, so it takes me so long to get through those, and I was like forcing myself to read it in all of my free time but just not enjoying it. So I decided to start reading the Sophia Code and that book at the same time, just so I can have a book that's maybe a little bit more fun and interesting, and then one that just has like research and science and meditations in it. So yeah, that feels really good, and I think that I always just need to read two books at the same time, a fiction one and more of like a self-help non-fiction kind of research sciencey book. So that is what I'm going to start doing, and I'm really excited about this one. I highly recommend it already, and I know it's going to rewire my brain, and it's honestly a perfect book to read in parallel with Dr. Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural, because he talks about entering that fifth dimensional state of consciousness, of nothingness, where everything has a space to be created and might as well create and implement these codes into that space. But anyways, the first thing I want to do is just kind of clean my altar. This is how she's looking, and I'm gonna get rid of these roses. I just did a protection spell before I left just because I was worried about the state of the world, to be honest. I personally like to keep my jewelry on my sacred altar space because I feel like I'm charging my little adornments, especially because I have jewelry that has crystals on them, and I like for them to just feel like really clear and charged and like little talismans.
No more sunny days, no more sunny days. I got a heart that won't behave. I got a mind gonna make me insane. No more sunny days, no more sunny days. You got a black cloud over your head. You're looking spit, gotta get you to bed.
And while my first load of laundry is in the wash, I'm going to take a little class on Skillshare. I'm taking an illustration class once again. This one is by Carla Alcazar, and it's about getting creative with a limited color palette. And I have been using Skillshare for years. They're an online learning platform with thousands of amazing classes for curious and creative people. They have so many classes and courses ranging from illustration to web design to entrepreneurship to sewing and photography, learning to use camera gear. There are so many tools on Skillshare to help you empower your business or give you some cathartic release during these times. And I just love the class dynamic. It really feels like you're learning with a community. You can share your projects and have discussions and have feedback from the teacher, and I just really appreciate it. I feel like I'm part of a little community, and now more than ever that feels so good and nurturing, and I just feel really empowered knowing that any creative interest or curiosity that I have can be explored on Skillshare. So the first 1,000 people to click the link in my bio will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium and have access to all of the courses and just unlimited potential to whatever your goal is. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. I have dressed myself. I'm wearing just some thrifted earrings, thrifted sweater, a sustainably and ethically made skirt from Arnhem Clothing. I love wearing two knit pieces together. cute. I haven't washed my hair in like 5 days. I've washed my body, I've washed my hair. I just haven't washed it with shampoo or conditioner. And I'm honestly really happy about it. My hair gets oily so quickly, and if I wash it too frequently, it gets really oily, which doesn't seem to make sense, but that's just what happens. So I'm going to do a hair mask today at some point and just let it soak in. My hair has felt really thick because I've been eating more vegan collagen. I'm really happy with it. It's definitely just knotty and looks really dry right now because, like I said, I've only washed it with water and I haven't put any like good replenishment back into it. But I'm going to tackle probably the scariest, messiest corner of my little cottage, and it's this array of shelves that has tons of food, skincare products, it's just a mess. I've been really into Brené Brown. She's written a lot of really good books. She's a shame researcher, and I see on my main Netflix page it says Brené Brown, The Call to Courage. She just empowers me, so I'm probably gonna listen to that. Just listen to something uplifting, you know.
I don't wanna end up the same as other poets, neurotic and halfway insane. Although we see the world in the same way, emotional extremes, the panic of the everyday. I don't want your minimum wages. I need these hours alone to foster my self-righteous wage.
I have decluttered the shelves. They still have a lot of stuff in them because I just have a lot of food and skincare, but they're a little bit more organized. And I just finished watching that Brené Brown special on Netflix, and the main takeaway, my mental note from that, was that courage and vulnerability go hand in hand, and it is always so worth it to act so bravely vulnerable in this life, and that it's a gateway and a doorway to really being seen and safe and held in this world and really being understood. Because if you don't ever allow yourself to be vulnerable, how can you be fully seen? How can you be fully loved? And another thing that I really like that she touched on was not to really take in the opinions of people who aren't also embodying their truth and living their lives courageously, especially being online. She touched on that because one of her TED Talks went viral, and I think it was the most viewed TED Talk in the world. But she got a bunch of hate comments or just a lot of really judgmental comments about her external appearance. And her way of processing through it was reminding herself that the comments and the advice and the feedback that we should all really honor are from people who love us and know us and who are also acting vulnerably and courageously in their truths, and not from people who aren't doing that, you know? And it's not that people's opinions don't matter, but we have control over which opinions that we do internalize and that we do use as actual critical feedback for our growth in this life. And I really like that. And she shared this story about her and her husband swimming at this lake, and something that I like is the way that she frames her argument with her husband, or her projection onto the moment. She said, "In my head, I make up that you don't think I'm as attractive as I was 15 years ago before I had kids. I'm making up that you want to divorce me," and all this stuff, and just kind of owning her narrative, even though it's clearly not what's actually happening in the present moment. And then her husband also responded in that way, like, "Well, I make up that you want a husband who's better at this and that." And I just really like that, because all of us create stories in our heads, and to remember that it is just a narrative and it is just a story that we're creating is so powerful. And she also touched on how for men, one of their most vulnerable points and the way that they've been conditioned to like find value and worth in themselves is through providing and being a protector. And for women, it's so often our point of vulnerability and shame is our body image, worrying that the way that we look isn't good enough. And I just thought that was interesting, because when her and her husband were having this kind of like exchange, both of those really intense areas of shame were coming up for them. And I just wonder how often that happens to people in partnerships, like to understand and to know that, like, oh, that's something that they're sensitive about, just as the masculine or as the feminine, is really just a good reminder. And yeah, those are my mental notes. And I am going to keep cleaning. I just got one load of laundry out of the dryer. I just put another one in, another one's in the dryer, and we're doing good. I think it's like noon. I just put that vegan quiche in the oven, and I'm so excited. I'm just gonna keep on going, and I think I need to just do some breath work soon, and then after I've kind of centered and realign my energy, I will drop into some emails and just texting people back, because I got so many beautiful birthday wishes when I didn't have Wi-Fi, and so they all poured in, and I got a little bit overwhelmed because I want to share and reflect love back to all of the beautiful people in my life. So I want to do that with presence and grace and just good feelings, and not like feeling overwhelmed. So yeah, I don't know, it's really weird. I'm really bad at answering texts. I'm an introvert in my day-to-day life, and I like to be so present with people when I do hang out with them, and so I'm the same way with text. Like, I don't want to half-ass answer a text, especially if someone shares something very beautiful or, you know, vulnerable with me. I just really want to be there for it, so I can take forever to text people back, and I'm learning to accept it while also change it at the same time a little bit. But I'm going to finish putting away my laundry. One more thing I wanted to say on the topic of vulnerability and courage is that you can never really lose if you're being vulnerable and true to yourself, because no matter what, you are learning from the experience and overcoming a certain mental fear or barrier or boundary, like even asserting your boundaries, even if someone doesn't fully receive them, even if things don't go the way that you expected, you are still winning by taking a chance on yourself, by believing in yourself, by building up enough courage to put yourself out there in the world. And I don't think that you can ever really lose if you are speaking your truth, living your truth, and being vulnerable. It always in some way will set a part of you free, and that's what's true for me.
Another coffee shop prophet, naming unseen things. Another big writer, drawing circles on a blank sheet. I fight the code against the grain. Tequila and communion, artists going down the drain. Always keep your hands so clean. Your loving and your sins, your balance.
Okay, so I've done most of my external cleaning and cleansing. I'm going to do this face mask by BioClarity. I love this mask. I've been using it for a while, but it's just my go-to because I have pretty sensitive skin. I always call my skin rice paper skin because it's just so sensitive. I've been in a very poetic, pensive mood recently, and I really want to start school in the spring or summertime. I have a really big interest in psychology and becoming a therapist. I would love to specialize in sex therapy down the line, but I decided that I want to pursue a degree in social work, so I'm going to start that online in the spring/summer once I do have a more permanent home base. I just don't know where that will be. By the way, I'm putting some coconut oil in my hair right now. Really excited. I'm excited to have so much time and space to pursue my passions and go back to school now that I have a bit more financial literacy and life experience, and I do feel more stable. I definitely feel like the most stable I've ever been in my life the past year and a half. I finally feel competent and confident enough to pursue a degree, and I'm really excited. It's going to be online. We'll see. We'll take it from there. I'm trying not to have any intense expectations for myself because I don't want to feel disappointed if certain things take longer than I think. So I'm just being really open and going to pursue this degree on my own time while still pursuing my creative endeavors, and I have other little passion projects that I want to work on. When you're 17, I was 17 when I moved out and decided to try college across the country, and I just didn't really know what I was doing. I just wanted to get out of my town and be away from everyone who knew me. I think a lot of people feel that way, and I'm just feeling like, wow, this is so much more of an educated, calculated decision starting now, and I'm really happy about it. We'll see how it goes. And this is already getting dry, so I should probably wash it off. And I'm going to write some letters to friends because I really miss them. So I got some postcards the other day at this toy store that I went to. My friend was getting a machete and I saw these. So I have 3 of these, and then I also got this really cute card. It's this star woman, and I think I'm going to send this one to my mom. And I'm gonna write a letter to my dad. I got this really strong message just to write a thank you letter to both of my parents for everything that they've done for me in my life. And I think the older I get, the more that I just have such deep appreciation for everything that they did get right and all the ways that they did support me. And I think that I just know that they tried the best that they could, and how could I ever be angry or upset or resentful of that? Even if it wasn't enough, even if it didn't keep me safe, it's like that was all that you could provide at the time, and at the very least I had a roof over my head, and I knew that they loved me, even if, yeah, it wasn't shown in certain ways. I definitely had some resentment, never this like anger that made me want to never speak to them again, or that couldn't see their humanity and where their consciousness was lying at that time. I don't know if that makes sense. Now, the older I get, the more I just realize how much worse everything could possibly be, and that's not to lessen my experience at all, but just how much they try. I just like, maybe coming into my own womanhood and stuff like that, I just really want them to know that they did get something right. My mom really showed me the experience of love. She was just the most affectionate woman. She still is the most affectionate woman that I've ever known. But I do feel so called to acknowledge them for everything that they did do. I know that no parents get it right. I know that everyone is traumatized in some way, even if people did live in a household full of love. It could have been conditional love. It could have been unstable love that wasn't always there. You know, everyone has trauma from their upbringing, and something that I learned about trauma is that there's no comparing experiences. It's the same like energetic experience and neurological experience that happens when you feel guilt and shame and trauma, and it doesn't matter how big or small. Actually, at the end of the day, I know for sure when I was in the starry sky, I looked down and I picked them, and I was like, you're gonna teach me the lessons that I need to learn in this life. I feel grateful because I've received this gift of presence, and I know that's special, and I've learned through my life experience that that can be a rare thing. People who can just sit with what's there, even if it's scary. And the more that you cultivate the ability to sit with yourself in silence, in presence, in full equanimous witnessing, the more that you can bring that medicine to other people. And I know, and this isn't being egoic at all, but I know that that's just one of the gifts that I carry, and the gift that like is accessible to everyone. When I sit in a group of women, or I just sit with my friends, or even a complete stranger, it's just this gift of listening and fully hearing and witnessing, and it does feel like magic because it's the nectar of life, you know, just being right here with each breath and not rushing a single word, not rushing a single thought or explanation. And there's just something about it that I know is really special, and I feel like everyone in my life has also been touched with that magic, and we just drop in so deeply together. And in that space, there's potential to heal everything, to become absolutely anything you could possibly want to be in this world, in this life. And I feel like one of the gifts of presence is the ability to disarm the power behind negativity, or to disarm anything that doesn't feel good, because I almost welcome everything so much, and I welcome any experience with my friends that will help us grow or become closer to one another. It dissolves fear, I guess, being present, because whenever I return back to my breath, I know how held I am in this world. I know how loved I am. I know how safe that I am. And so anything that I could possibly want to run from is just disarmed in a way, because I'm like, well, let's just really look at this, and let's just hold this truth that we are safe and loved and held in our hearts while we unpack this really dense experience that we're having. And I love that I get to do that with my friends and hold space for my friends and never feel like this is too much of a burden, or this is like I need to run and hide and put this away in a box and throw it away in the ocean. It's like I welcome everything, but know that I'm so beyond it, and that feels really good. I love that I'm having this really deep talk with this dry, crusty green face mask on, but for real, I know that my parents are my greatest teachers, and that I asked to learn all of these lessons, and for that I am truly grateful and truly just so surrendered to whatever else needs to unfold on my path to bring me to the deepest sense of knowing and awareness and love and courage. I think that knowledge is so empowering. I used to think that knowledge could just make your mind more busy, and who would want that? But I think that this year I really learned how much empathy that knowledge can bring us, especially of different people's life experiences. Also that we can comprehend this life and this world around us at a much deeper level if we have a wider scope from which to define and reflect on our experiences. I'm just excited for it all, and I know that I'm not always right, and I know I'm not always going to get it right, but I know that that's okay, and that no matter what, I'm always growing.